My bucket, my goalie bucket. I need an equipment. Where's the equipment guy? Where's the equipment girl? My goalie bucket. Equipment malfunction. I know. It's like a little bit late for the hollowed meanie, but I was just reminding the kids always wear your buckets when you go out on ice. Yeah, sometimes if you're just learning how to skate, I'm gonna be honest. Adults, okay, anyone like 30 or over, if you're just going out on ice to learn how to skate, wear it with a chin strap that works. Okay, just trust me. Okay, I fell backwards once, and I mean, I really wasn't too bad on skates. It's just that I was changing the style of skates. That hurt a lot, and you could get a concussion. So, if you're over 30 and you're just learning how to ice skate, yeah, be the dork who wears a lid. Now, see, lids. So when I say lid, I'm talking about a skater lid. Okay, so wear a skater lid. But I mean, if you want to wear a goalie mask, you can. Okay, but I call the goalie mask buckets. So there's no confusion. A a lid is the helmet that the skaters wear, and a bucket is what the goalies wear. So that you know the difference. But I'm just having a little fun. Props. I'm goalie. I goalie. I weird. I'm very weird. I'm weird. I don't know. I had some props, so I just decided. Yeah. So hi everybody. It is. I'm Dr. Lueth. It's November 9th, 2025. It is 8:43 a.m. Eastern New York time, USA. And I have this on here to remind the fellas. It's Movember. Movember. Fellas. Okay. Don't put it off. And I'll tell you exactly. I had some issues, let's just say, with my stool, and I have a GI doc. So they decided to do a colonoscopy. And at a certain age, it's a good idea to do that, gentlemen. Also, to go to the man doctor, exploring the nether cave real quick. Because I found out that after I was done with they took out a polyp. And that polyp has a higher likelihood to turn into the big dumb C word nobody likes. Right. So do me a solid. Do your friends and family, especially the ice hockey people, gentlemen. Okay. I might call you dingbats and point at goalie stupids and say certain things, some snarky things sometimes, but that's just hockey love. Right? It's not meant for for harm or anything like that. Yeah. Well, sometimes you gotta just like, hey, wakey, exit bakey, boys. Let's work on getting to the playoffs, Winnipeg. See, that's what you just like Winnipegians. I still don't know. I'm gonna ask at the next check-in with Sarah and Jamie, which should be today because today's game day. I'm gonna ask whether you guys like Winnipegians or Winnipegites. So, yeah, American football fans. I'm not talking to you. Yeah, I'm talking about the Winnipeg Jets. It's an ice hockey franchise. Uh, all right. So this is hockey talk today, and this is a reminder for the fellas. All right. Yes, there are going to be some people nagging at you. I'm nagging you, dudes. I'm nagging you because I give a crap. Like it or not. Okay, I don't care. It makes no difference. Okay, make sure the man health check is important too. Also, please be reminded that men can get breast cancer too. All right, and so for anybody who wants to know, there is breast tissue under the armpits. All right, but these are things that can actually happen. So certain things are more likely in females than males, but don't forget that that can also be the case. So I'm nagging you. I'm nagging you. I'm another one of those women nagging. Nag. It's Movember. Health checks, gentlemen. Health checks. Anyway, so I'm basically, for people who aren't familiar with me, I'm basically kind of like slowly introducing myself to the ice hockey lovers in Manitoba, Winnipeg, and the Winnipeg Jets fans around the world. I've seen some of you get on the check-in, the Winnipeg check-in, the Jets check-in with Sarah and Jamie. And a lot of us who are outside Canada, we listen to 680. I call it C-Job, just CJOB. And some listen to Power 97. Now, I got to say, I still have to kind of figure out what's going on there. I tried to download a couple different, um, like, radio players so I can listen to Canadian radio in the U.S. And there seems to be something going on there. It could be a I don't know. So yes, there was one game where the Jets were not on 680 because the Blue Bombers, which I don't know that much about, I'll be honest, to be truthful. But as I listen to Winnipeg Sports Talk in particular, they also talk about that. So, I'm learning a little bit here and there. My main focus is ice hockey. It's always ice hockey. That never changes. I have hockey for brains. It's just the way it is. I'm a student of the game. But I'm saying thanks for the um, great Jets coverage. I'm typing this down too. Thanks for the great Jets coverage. Like, wait a minute. Let me do this again. Remove. I'm gonna remove this. Right, let me try this again. But I just wanted to say thanks to 680 CJOB in over there, Winnipeg, because those of us who are outside of Canada, we a lot of us have to listen on online radio, but we're right. So I know I'm not the only one. I know there's people around. So I'm in good company. If I had money, if I had a way to get the NHL center ice somehow, I would do that. But I can get TNT now, and I can listen to the games. It's Paul and Mitchell. So thanks to Paul and Mitchell, and I'm typing this out for great Jets coverage on 680 CJOB. Right, so I'm just having a little fun today. Reminder, it's Movember, dudes. Okay, I'm just going to keep reminding you all Movember. Okay, thanks to Paul Mitchell for great Jets coverage. All right, so I'm also saying hello to anyone outside Canada who is a Winnipeg Jets fan. Hi, I'm from Maryland. I do wish I lived in Manitoba. Trust me, I've looked into how to immigrate, how to be an immigrant into Canada. I know they need special skill. Like there's certain special skills things that they need. I mean, I knock on the door. So I tell Canadians, I mean, come on. Okay, somebody can sponsor me. All right, well, but I have all these other skills. I mean, I can't help it. I grew up in the U.S., and when you get sick in the U.S., it usually makes you poor, unless you're like super heavy, rich, old money, which is not very common. Truth. The truth of the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. You can't prove me wrong. I know Canada has its situations. I'm not trying to look for greener grass. I don't give a shit about the grass. The ice is the ice is the ice is the ice. You know what I'm trying to say? Right. And I really understand Canada. I know. You want the cut back on Canadian soil. I get it. 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 And I'm very happy that Jets 2.0 happened. I mean, I really felt for the people, for the Trashers fans, because that was twice now that Atlanta. But there you are. Okay. And I'm familiar with the history of Jets 1.0. So just know that I'm a hockey lifer. I don't even get paid. I'm still a hockey lifer. Like I put myself in the hockey life prison, just knocking on the door. Put me there. I don't care. Get out of my way. Who are you? I don't give a shit, Gretz. You weren't a great coach. All right, bye. So congrats to Alexander Ovechkin, everybody. Pretty amazing. But also, like, I mean, Sidney Crosby, 20 years in. And I want to say also, because we now have, Homer, we had a Homer homeboy. So I say we, I mean Manitoba. I know I didn't live there, but I'm just saying, yes, got it, Homer. That's, when he was on the Hawks, yeah, I mean, he was always on opposing teams, so I'd call him Toes just to mess with the last name, little hockey chirping. Now I know Taves, right? So a lot of people call him Taser, but I just got used to calling him JT. Okay, so when I say JT, I mean, Jonathan. And I've been listening to sort of like his press and the things he's been talking about his journey back to ice hockey. And I got to be honest with you, it's like, you guys, like Jets fans, okay? I don't care what you're seeing on ice, okay? If you don't, if you analyze a little less, just a little less, you need to understand he looks looser than he's ever in his life. Very uptight individual. Because I've listened to his press before and after, and he knows now completely. It's like, hey, I'm on a team. Like if I whiffed on a shot or I couldn't get that angle, like it may rebound. It is what it is when it happens. If I couldn't get it in, I couldn't get it in. Okay, he's learned not to like be too hard on himself, and he's been talking about that. And so kudos to that. See, what you've gotten is a highly well experienced individual who understands a leadership role, but also knows how to a support role. And he knows for sure now. He knows for sure there's no point in being too hard, because what happens in a game happens in a game, man. There are dudes who are like super shooters, and they can go through this stretch of, barely hanging on to the puck. They can go through a stretch of, shot after shot after shot. And some of them are A shots, as in the good shots, the ones that have a chance of going in for sure, and still not ring the bell. But that's okay, because he knows, just like everybody in Winnipeg should understand where I'm coming from as a fan. Okay, this is what kind of hockey person I am. This is what kind of hockey fan I am. He brings other things also. Like he's been a captain, so he knows, if Lowry needs to like talk to somebody who understands, he's got somebody who understands. Okay, he he knows how to just keep sort of slowly progressing through the season, and it really can be like they call it the grind. It can get like that. It can get, I'm not saying boring, but it can get difficult sometimes. You understand? It's just like, game after game, especially if you're in a little bit of an air quotes scoring drought, or it seems like everybody is now like their defense has learned how to like maneuver you, so you have to shoot at interesting angles, or you can't get in the spot. And people call it the OV zone. But it's also the hammer zone and the taser zone and the city kid zone and the bend zone and you see what I'm saying? Okay, that is a very popular place for natural goal scorers to go. So that's what I'm saying. But they know how to adjust, and I'm going to tell you, Winnipeg. No matter what you might say about numbers, no matter what you might say about Jonathan Taves, I've been trying to listen to you guys, and I do kind of like get in a little bit and try and get into the chat just a little bit, just so you know I'm there. And sometimes I ask questions, sometimes I make some comments. But I just one this kind of fan I am. I'm a very positive, uplifting kind of fan when it comes to ice hockey, because one vast majority of the people talking about it, I guarantee you would not want to actually be for real on NHL ice. I guarantee it. And I'm like, ooh, goalie crazy, and I gotta be honest, right? Like the only, no, I can't do that. So but I just want to let everybody know I've been studying this game since I was 8, and I'm 53, so it's been quite a while. I studied the league. I prefer to listen to the press, to the players, to the coaches, to the GMs, to the assistant coaches. That's one thing about listening to the radio. Is that if you're listening to the games on the radio, you get, like, sometimes you get the assistant coaches in the what do you call it, the intermissions. You listen to different types of things. You get the coaches corner and all that kind of stuff. And I check out the press, and so a legal curve is I'm saying hello, fellas. Okay, I know you guys have your thoughts and you discuss, and I sometimes might jump in here and there on the chat to just kind of like put a kind of perspective on there, just to say, well, it could also be this. So one of the things I noticed, I was watching the illegal curve yesterday, and one of the things that I noticed, they were talking about, I mean, the guys have only lost 2. Listen, just try to be a more consistent fan, man. Like, people online were like, oh, I didn't like the choice the coach made. I'm like, maybe it wasn't a choice. Maybe there were injuries we don't know about. Okay. Maybe there are guys who went to the coach and said, please try me on this line. Okay. Like, there's stuff you don't know. Maybe it wasn't just the coaches. It's like that in the National Hockey League for every freaking franchise all the time. It never changes. Do you understand? Okay, there are, like, it could have been one of the guys just said, okay, please try me on this line, or can I, like, or maybe he knew, what the original lineup was of the Sharks, and he maybe wanted to kind of like put him off kilter, or wanted to, see if a guy could, rise to an occasion or whatever. Okay, I like, sitting around and second guessing a coach after a game is nothing I care to do. But I will say this: over the years, I have discovered that a lot of times it's not because it's because the coaches are adjusting to what, in between the periods, there's an adjustment that may be made. Okay, so every team adjusts to each other. That's just how it works in the National Hockey League. That's how it works. That's how it is. That's how it always is. And sometimes the coaches have to use guys because maybe there's a guy who's got some minor injury, but yeah, he's got to put him on this line and reduce his minutes so he can still play, but we want to make sure he doesn't get injured even further or a second injury in the same spot. Guys play injured. Okay. So I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to diss the people who do. I'm trying to tell you what kind of fan I am. And that's why sometimes I'll get online. So yesterday I got online while I was listening to a legal curve, and I have to follow you on Twitter. I thought I was. I don't know. Sometimes, I don't know. It has a mind of its own. So I'll make sure I do that. But, they were talking, and it was just like I started noticing people like, I didn't like the coach's choice. And it's just like, it might not have been just the coach. Okay, and there's two other coaches. Well, they have two other coaches, okay, who also have input. And then there's a goalie situation. So, Movember, this is why I have this on here, fellas. So, also, if the Winnipeg Jets fans look at the game that they had the next night against the Kraken, well, they pretty much, right, the Sharks ran over the Kraken. They ran over the Kraken. 6-1. Ran them over. It was a completely different game from what the Jets and the Sharks were doing. Okay? Like, they just had the Kraken's number. Okay? So, considering getting run over the next night, at least the Jets did not get run over. They didn't get run over. Okay? And every single time that they get scored on, I know that there are guys, and Jonathan Taze, JT Taser, is one of those kind of guys, and so is Adam Lowry, and likely so safely aware, sort of like in the back of their minds, okay, well, that's how they scored on us. And then there's, some veteran defensemen also just in the back of the mind, okay, you got to be a little aware of this. Okay? So, all things considered, that really wasn't too bad. And we're still waiting for, injuries and of course, yep, Lowry, getting his full, sort of like, NHL Jets game. Got to shake off a little rust. Got to get back into the, being in the room with the guys. Got to get back into the rhythm of the, the season as a player. So probably still a little of that going. So I am not that kind of fan. I will probably, sometimes I will mention things like this, and then I get some angry people who, will send me nasty things. And I got to be honest with you. It's like, well, okay, it doesn't bother me because it's just like, well, I am a very educated individual, and I don't need a penis to understand this sport really, really, really well. I have actually played it, and I've been in goalie gear. So the positions that I understand best: 1, goalie; 2, head coach; 3, general manager; 4, centerman. And I am now purposely sort of like listening and watching, because I can see games on TNT, and then also the NHL Network, they'll replay some games. So as I'm watching games, I'm sort of like focusing in on the wingers. Now, to kind of like understand the position of wing. Now, yes, defenseman, I understand just simply because I understand goaltending. And quite frankly, I got to be honest with you, as far as I'm concerned, every defenseman could also score a goal. On the rare odd occasion, even a goalie. But no, we don't put that on Connor and Helly and Cons. They get their net. You understand? They need to stay close enough to the net. There's some goalies sometimes go wandering out, and I'm kind of like, well, serve you freaking right. Okay, we don't want to see Cons and Helly trying to like. Okay, it's like, did you forget you were on a TEAM? Okay, that's a goalie, stupid. I mean, no matter how good Helly is and how many awards, uh, no, we don't want to encourage that. That's not being a hero, man. That's being a zero, and then your team has to make up 2 points. So yeah, you really should be buying them all. Yeah, at least a snack if you go too far out of your net. I do not agree with that ever. Okay, now if it is the last 2 minutes of Game 7 in the playoffs, all right, maybe you do some stuff. Okay, but otherwise, no. Okay, the goalie's main job is the blue paint. That's where your skates are supposed to be most of the time, and that's all anybody should really expect. I mean, Helly's got a little bit more. I mean, Helly's got his NHL game together. He knows what it is. He knows how to do that. He knows how to refine, and he's one of those goalies now reached the point where he doesn't really need a coach as much as he needs a friendly who understands the position, who he can talk to. If the video is being shown to him, like, okay, well, you check and see if there's something you thought, right? He needs like people who are supportive. Someone who knows how to approach him and say, "Did you realize you see what I'm trying? Did you realize you were doing that?" A friendly that he can, like a sounding wall, and someone who can, not don't try and change him. Don't try and say this is how you should. No. Because like Helly is at that point in the National Hockey League where he knows what his game is. He knows, everything he needs to know, so he can take that net and he's got it. He's got the net. You understand what I'm trying to say? So this is at a point where sometimes like goalie coaches and other coaches, no. Like, don't coach. Comms needs some coaching. All right. But at a certain point, he's going to get enough time on ice too. And he's going to start and he's going to get his full NHL game. And he, like, this is what I'm saying. So if there's goalies, I mean, if Helly looks at any of the coaches, they just say, okay, you're not helping me. Just take that as, oh, okay, sorry. But let me know, like, coach, okay? And I encourage our goalies, I encourage that. Just say, if you really need to speak up, speak up. Just speak up and say, no. Like, that's not a part of my game. You see what I'm trying to say? So Helly is an example of someone who has his full complete NHL game. And he knows a little bit more what he can do around the net, and because really you don't really want your goalie doing too much away from the blue paint. Okay, so he's on a team. So I'm also I did get to look at some. I did get to see a game after the fact, and Combs was playing, and compared to last year, it seems like he seems a little more solid, and he seems a little more understanding of, like, his positioning was a little bit better, and he just seemed more confident, and he seemed more confident in some of the interviews. So these are good signs. So I am not the kind of person who's just going to talk all kinds of stuff as though for some reason I'm not the manager. I'm not the coach. Okay. I am not as much a stat oriented as other people are. I understand some people sort of need to see it in like a graph or chart or in a percentage so that they can kind of understand better. So I'm not like poo pooing it. It's not my thing, and I don't really ever look at goalie stats only because I don't agree with them in the slightest at all. Okay, goalie stats are just dependent on what the team is doing, and a goalie who may seem to have poor stats can actually uh, be on a team that's going to the playoffs. So I'm not that kind of. I don't look at that. If I'm at games, okay, if I'm at live games or I'm watching, if I in between in the intermission, I'll look at time on ice. I'll look at shots, and I will look at sometimes I'll look at shots blocked, but not much else. Okay, because it's pretty obvious once you get to know the game really well and you're watching a game. It's pretty obvious that whether the Jets have puck possession or not. I mean, I don't, I know that the other team is a factor. So I am not as critical or analytical because I know that the other team is always a factor. That is exactly the same all the time. Every NHL franchise, every single one of them, day in and day out in the National Hockey League. Okay. Other team is always a factor. So I'm not as big on the stats. I'm also, I'm an advocate for player safety. I'll put it to you that way. But I know why they fight sometimes, and I understand there's protectors still. So it's you, you knowing the position, but it's also the role they're being asked to play by the franchise. And sometimes we don't know that. Sometimes it's not discussed a lot. And if it is, if you listen to Scott Arniel or if you listen, if Chevy ever makes a statement, but it's mostly Scott Arniel who's the spokesperson during the regular season. And sometimes the assistant coaches, sometimes they'll say, like, you know, we asked him to play a certain kind of role, and that's what he's doing. That's what the club asked of him. So these are things that, the more you know, the more you know. So I stick very close to the team uh, press. Okay, the Winnipeg press. It comes from the Jets itself. I stick very close to that, and I do everything I can to listen to Scott Arniel and uh, how he's looking at things and how he's seeing things. But a lot of people just want to look at independent numbers like, oh well, this guy really needed to get something. I'm just like, well, did anybody pass to him? How well covered was he while he was on ice? All right, I'm not that kind of fan. I don't just think of them like independent number all out in space. That's out of context. I know that Jets at Noon. Hello, Jets at Noon. I'm trying to find all your media. So if I'm not following you right now, I'm doing that. It might be nice on the website to have, like, yeah, like the Twitter X accounts and like the X social media for like Illegal Curve and Jets at Noon, and if it's there, I couldn't find it. But maybe I wasn't looking in the right place. But that might be helpful for fans who follow each other. So hello Jets at Noon, and they mentioned some of these stats. Like a lot of it is out of context. A lot of it does not apply to an actual real National Hockey League game because you got to consider what the other team's doing. You got to consider that they are on a team, and there are guys who might be injured. There are guys who might be more tired because they've been taking, block shots, and they get more time on ice. And there's only so long a player can do that without having it affect them. Okay? So I know the game really well, really well. And yes, I heard him, and I agree. Yeah, Jim and is it Cam? I'm trying to remember. I'm getting to know all you guys, but I agree that just straight numbers, looking at it. Okay, you're not dealing with inanimate objects. Okay? There is an opposing force that's not predictable, except for the fact that they're supposed to be doing it within the confines of the NHL rules. So I don't hang on to statistics, and I think a lot of these metrics actually are more. It's like damaging mental health for some of them because there's different kinds of thinkers in players. So I'm one who just understands. Okay, I'm listening to the guys. Okay, I listen to the coach. I spend time, listening to the people who are around the game. Paul and Mitchell, and the ones who are right, who have access to players like Jamie and Sarah, and so I'm refamiliarizing myself with the Jets because I've been a fan for a while. I just haven't been vocal for a lot of different reasons, but now I've spent a lot of time listening and a lot of time learning and picking up on something. So I know that there's some former NHLers who are also Jets fans, and so I'm Jets for till I stop breathing. And quite frankly, I hope the club lasts longer than I do, to be honest with you. But I tend to see things more in a realistic view, as in, hey, we can look at things as fans and think one thing, but the actuality of it is that that's not really what happened. Okay, right. I mean, so I'm a little less prone to look at it like, well, he needs to capitalize on this. He needs to capitalize on. I understand, but it's a whole team effort, and sometimes fans don't get angry, please. Okay, I'm not giving you crap. I'm saying sometimes fans will get all riled up. I'm like, that's not even how that is. Like that. That's not like that player is right, plays a certain role on this team. And so it's not even really something that players looking to do or trying to do. That's someone else's role on the team. That's somebody else. So, I'm a little more realistic to the game by game. I'm also one of those kind of people who will say, hey, okay, we concentrate on the Ducks because it's the Ducks. They're playing the Ducks. Okay. Anything from the Sharks game, anything, right, should have already been discussed and looked at. And if you didn't have time, it's like, all right, no worries. Just move forward. And who's next? The Ducks. What do we know about the Ducks? The coach knows how to prepare. The guys know how to, watch and blah, blah, blah. They know how to talk about it amongst themselves and prepare. Never look past your next opponent. Never. Okay, I've seen a lot of ice hockey in there. A lot. And I've seen teams, franchises where the tendency is for the coaching, and it could even be management driven, but I'm not sure 100%. So I'll just say at least coaching. They want to have their players look 3 games in the future. Isn't wise. Okay? The players should be on a day by day kind of thing. And yes, you may, if you have back-to-back games 2 days in a row, maybe you don't look at that. Maybe you just like, okay, the players know kind of what happened on ice and they can, as they're traveling to the next game. But essentially, you really should just be, as soon as you finish one game, okay, you should just be eyes on your next opponent. And that's it. Not, can't wait till we play this team. Like, no, 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 no. Day by day, game by game. So yes, they'll go over some things, maybe some, and say, okay, well, here's some things maybe we look at, maybe we learn from that. Maybe there was, okay, I couldn't do anything about that. It's just blah blah blah. All right, let's close out. Who's next? The Ducks. Let's prepare for the Ducks, and no one else. The Ducks of today, the Ducks of right now, not the Ducks of last season. Okay, the Ducks of right now, in the present. The players should be in the present at all times. Because this isn't the Ducks of last year. This isn't the Jets of last year. Every single National Hockey League team has changes during the summer. It always is the case. Sometimes the NHL rules will change, but it's always the case for every single NHL team, including the Jets. There are always changes. Guys may move for whatever reason. Could be family, anything. Right. Some may decide to retire, even though, no, right. Some are traded. Some get, maybe there's something that's talked about, management stuff we don't know. Coaches, maybe a player's asked to play a slightly different role. Okay, so every single, just forget about last season Jets. This is right now Jets. Right now. But I'm saying this to some fans and some people who really love the game, and I get it. All right. Sometimes you can, help yourself avoid that heavy roller coaster, or, some frustration, or, that kind of stuff, by understanding that every team has the same situation, and no team is ever the same anymore. In the National Hockey League, every single year there are changes to the team. That's it. And yeah, Scott, like, it was Maurice and Bowman. Okay, so that's still a little bit gel and assistant, right? So that's still a little bit going on too. They're all kind of learning how to adjust to each other. One of the things that is important to me, and so I do try and watch, like, their ways, some in the games get replayed, but I also sometimes there's some footage that's like the highlights, right? But it's, so what I can see is, and in the interviews, they're learning each other too, gelling, learning to sort of understand each other, good chemistry on ice. So the more they know about each other, and the more they can learn to read each other, and the more they understand about each other, is very helpful, because it helps them shave off like half a second the better they get at that, just alone, no matter who's on ice. Okay. uh and also how to read the other team, how to read what they're doing in real time at that pace, which is very fast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not worried about their speed. I don't care. Like, it may appear as though another team made him look slow, but it also could be the case that they were trying to slow down the other team. Okay, like, sometimes it takes more energy to try and match the speed and then overtake that speed than it does to try and slow down another team. Okay? And it happens all the time. Like some guy get up like, oh geez, my legs are just, I'm trying to get my legs in the first period. It's like they're coming. I just right, but that's what it means to be on a team. I know in a recent interview, it was probably about a month ago or so, in one of the press scrums, where Taser was talking about some things. Sometimes it's like you get a little bit of a slow start, right? I mean, you try to put an A game on every single second of every single day, but I mean, every single player in the National Hockey League has those times when they just feel a little sluggish and it takes a little long, or they start getting a little like mentally exhausted or physically or something toward the third period. So you know, we're very fortunate that Taser came back, but he's learned a lot in things on and off ice since then, and he understands his body and what's better for his body and maybe some of the habits he had. So, as you know, Winnipeg Jets are very fortunate, and it also he's got some home connection. So if he needs to do a little extra work, if he needs to sort of like take a look at some things differently to, see what he can do to be as helpful for the team as he can, I know he's going to do it. It's Taser. I know he's going to do it. But he's also learned is like, I mean, you don't need to worry you whiff on a shot, man, because everybody in the National Hockey League whiffs on shots. You just never know. You might think you got this fully loaded, you're good to go, and then bam, or it takes a weird bounce, or just like clips the goalie's like skate by and like bounces this way, right? Every single player in the National Hockey League, including your best goal scorers, all go through that. And the one thing I am going to mention Jaromir Jagr, really quick. Jaromir Jagr is an anomaly in the National Hockey League. Okay, I know he's not. He's still playing pro though, over across the pond. But Yags, it's kind of like it's sort of like in a league of his own. There's just this. I think he's just naturally gifted, but the work that he puts in, like he's spent, like he's so hockey minded, like nothing else really exists to him. He does put the work in. So kids, also, hi guys who play for the Winnipeg Jets. Hi guys. Yeah, spend some time watching yachts because he's got that puck protection shit down. It's like he could do it in his sleep. Like literally, I'm sleepwalking. Yes. Okay. And some people want to call that puck off, but on the other hand, it's like, well, possession of the puck is possession of the puck. And if the other team can't get away, right, you get what I'm trying to say? It frustrates the other team. So, puck carriers, right? Review yachts. Look at video of yachts. Look at a lot of video of yachts. He's also very hard to take to the boards, but he's an anomaly. Like there just is never going to be another Yachts. There's only one Yachts. He's one of one. Kind of like Bufflin. Or for any of you, Bifluglian. Bufflin. Yeah, Buff. One of one. Okay. So Yachts is just one of one. But that is somebody to watch the video. Watch him. Watch what he does. See how he protects the puck. Because there may be games where the dudes quite literally have to spend some time playing keep away. Okay? Or where dudes might have to slow down another team. Or, right, like if they know they can pace faster, that's fine too. Puck protection is awesome that way. And we are also very, very fortunate that Taser is a really good face-offs guy. So, like the other guys who take face-offs, maybe, yeah, because face-offs help. They truly do. And we're building for playoffs, point blank. We're building for playoffs. So every day is sort of, how do we get longevity? How do we build patience? How do we build perseverance? Okay. And those are all things that the team also looks at. And, it may not be, it's not really about technical skills sometimes. So, I mean, tasers, all that's there. And he's also learned to be less hard on himself. And I think he enjoys playing a little more, which is going to pay dividends. And, Lowry has learned certain things, especially um, his his reaction to some things over the last 5 years have changed to the point where he's sort of like, well, this is what happens in a regular NHL workday. And right, we know that's not the issue. No matter what the press is saying, no matter what the fans are saying, he's good at knowing, well, that's not our issue. So that's a positive too. And he's got to shake off a little rust. So being beaten 2-1 by the Jets, considering that the very next, or not by the Jets, by the Sharks, considering the very next day the Jets just ran over the Kraken. Yeah, that wasn't really too bad. It really wasn't. So, I am a very positive person, and I choose to look at the good that happens in every single game, even when we lose. And I don't play fantasy ice hockey because there's real ice hockey. And I also, don't spend a lot of time second guessing the coaching staff. And I'm definitely not an armchair GM. Occasionally, I might get into a conversation here and there while I mention, like, okay, well, we can't trade for that one anyway because he's on a 5-year contract and he's got no trade. Or, he's not he's a restricted free agent. He's got a list. So, these things all factor. And they're fans that may not be as nerdy as I am about the whole thing. I mean, I love the sport. I love the people who play the sport. I love learning about just the whole National Hockey League, and then that's the AHL, and then I know there's the OHL, and there's feeder systems, and over there in Europe. So over the years, I've just been able to see the positives and understand positioning better and understand how to interpret what the head coaches are saying, what the assistant coaches are saying. And I spend a lot of time just listening to our players. And it's after a while, I can start to read them. You can tell when, sometimes you can tell when they're being a little too hard on themselves. But some of that can come from the press. And so I don't hate the press. I just think that at least home press, there's some questions that home press we don't need to ask. Okay, if they're gonna if our players are gonna be annoyed by the press, let it be the press from another team or another city, right? Because that can happen. There are some highly subversive press, some, right? But our press, it's don't try and get those hard hitting. Let outsiders do that if they're gonna do it. I mean, it's good to ask certain questions, but uh, you know, as press, you start to realize kind of like when the guys feel a little needled or when they're, so maybe you back off a little. See? So I'm like a fan of the entire sport, but I do love the ice hockey people. Some of them play a little dirty. Some of them, aren't thinking straight or the best people on the planet sometimes, okay, but a lot of that sometimes are inbred into systems. And so I say, okay, hockey is a game of opportunity. It's a game of opportunity, is what it is. Okay, you call it a game of mistakes, and it's just like, no. Line changes aren't mistakes. But there are players who know for sure, oh, shit, they're going for fresh legs. I got 3 feet and an extra second. And sometimes goal scorers, that's all they need. So ice hockey is a game of opportunities. And the sooner people start looking at it that way, the sooner you'll understand. Sometimes what players do on ice is not a mistake. Right? You don't want to pound that hammer on your players who think a certain way. All right? So the more positive, the more uplifting, the more encouraging thinking is hockey is a game of opportunity. And that's just a true statement. So I'm one of those kind of people that kind of like look at as much of the big picture that I'm privy to. And I'm very, thinking very positively about Taser in that way. And Adam, and of course, well, Shifes, but also, a lot of people, I was not really engaged in a lot of conversation online. I wasn't engaging in the chats and things like that in the last few seasons. But I've never really been a Lane Stanley downer kind of person. Sometimes it's the role. Sometimes it's the space. Sometimes there were people who had contracts, and sometimes the coaches, some guys, they need like at least 15 minutes to really get their legs going for their best performances. And so it is very, very, very difficult for coaches to consistently get everybody on ice for the time that they need to maneuver these things, while also adjusting sometimes to what the other team is doing, because every single team in the National Hockey League has to do that, while also, giving those guys who really need a chance. And again, players play injured, and sometimes we don't know. Okay, if they go on ice and it's not said out in the public, well, that's because the other team will attack the injury. So sometimes it's not said. But player safety for me, to be honest with you, as a fan, I mean, I know the press, well, I'm not pressing, I don't care. It's not my job to care about that. Upper body injury should be all, as fans, we should expect to hear, or lower body. Okay, and it could be that someone says private family, but private means private. Don't press. Okay, so Movember, fellas, and I'm just slowly but surely sort of just letting the Manitoba region and the fans who are like me, who are Winnipeg Jets fans who aren't in Canada, and to say thank you to Paul Mitchell. It is game day. I really appreciate the Jets check-in with Sarah and Jamie, because you do kind of like they do try and give you the the lineup. You kind of get an idea of what the lineup's going to look like, and discuss a few things. And so uh, it It's kind of like getting warmed up. It's my warm up. It's my hockey lover warm up. I I do love the hockey people. I love the hockey community. I mean, we're not all sweet little angels. We make mistakes. We think stupid shit. Some get involved with alcohol. Some get involved, and I got to be honest with you. No, the National Hockey League is not like a big gigantic party. People, it just isn't. And there are a lot of guys who aren't using cocaine or fentanyl or alcohol. Okay, there are a lot of guys like that. Right? And to be honest with you, I mean, there's so many who aren't. But if you know somebody who is, do an intervention. Get a bunch of people and be a wall together. To be the wall together. And convince them, no, man, for your sake, for our sake. I mean, especially roids. Okay, you know how dangerous it is in a sport like ice hockey. It's like a powder keg in there sometimes inside the glass. A dude experiencing roid rage in his own locker room might actually kill somebody. Unfortunately, the way hockey is that the possibility that a life could be lost is there, and I prefer that not be the case. But unfortunately, it can be, and that is a player safety issue, not only for opposing teams, but I mean, somebody roid rages in their own freaking locker room. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like we need to think more positively about certain things. And a lot of people, after the fact, have said, I had a gambling problem and well, I went through this. And I was, like, all drinking every single day. And it was like this. And, I mean, some get caught, unfortunately, using cocaine. And it's like, that's all just a big fat lie. I mean, that doesn't help anything. Exactly. It's just like, no, I mean, it just doesn't. It's a lie. It doesn't help your performance. It doesn't. It fucks with your head. It fucks with your chemistry. It fucks with your relationships. It could completely remove you from playing in the National Hockey League, let alone kill you. It could kill you. So that's what I also mean by player safety. It's the Movember, gentlemen. Movember. Okay? Do the checks. Think about your physical health and the things that you can do preemptively. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, that's why early detection can mean the difference between finding out you got stage 4 cancer and finding out that you might have like a polyp that could turn into that. Okay? But ice hockey people, like, we're never really alone. We shouldn't be. And I don't appreciate some ice hockey people all, telling me I'm an inspiration and all other kind of stuff. And when I ask for help, nothing but crickets chirping. Uncool, man. I would never do anything like that to any of you. I don't even care if you're on an opposing team. But yeah, I'm a Winnipeg Jets fan for the rest of my life. I really do very carefully look and try and find ways and kind of put it out there. I mean, I would love to live in Canada so I could actually go to live games. I'd love to work for a franchise, and I'd love to be around, my fellow Jets fans. That's just true. There's certain jobs I know I can't do because of my health, but there's some I could, and especially if I get the right kind of support and help. But you know, I will be putting stuff and getting into the chats a little more. But I'm just doing this to introduce myself in case anybody didn't know. And yes, I had to do the hell walk, but I'm still here, and I am a hockey lifer, even if I don't get paid. And don't forget, ow, Movember, fellas. Like, wait, but let me before we go. I like to do fun things and be a little bit humorous. Okay, just to add a little levity. Wait, I was gonna do unibrow here. Yeah, unit. Oh, well, whatever. My unibrow sucks. Yeah. So I do have a movement disorder. I am a cancer survivor. I had several people in my family affected. I think that that stuff can get you straight to hell and stay there. And I have a rare sort of situation going on, and I do have to I have to constantly monitor certain things that other people don't. Um, but so it's another reason that I also do this for people who have to spend a lot of time sort of indoors and going back and forth to doctors and getting poked and prodded, and it can get just horribly depressing. So I, I struggle. But I also wanted to mention mental health. A lot of people I've known along the way could not possibly have ever imagined me being someone who might commit suicide, and I tried at one point. And I was really pissed off that it didn't work. And it took a while. And it took time, and it took a therapist, and it took me ignoring a lot of what people were saying to me. Just shitty advice from people who aren't qualified. And anyway, so I know I'm not gonna live forever, and I had a lot of money. There are people who kind of get right. I had money for what I needed, and then I had a full-year salary because that's what they tell you to do, and I had a little extra, but I had to cash out two of my IRAs. It just got to like, healthcare in America kills people because they can't afford it. That's the truth, Canada. And I understand waiting for specialists. I know. Well, in the U.S., you have to do that too. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to say the grass is greener anywhere because I don't give a shit about the grass. I always get along with Canadians, even if we give each other a little shit, ice hockey back and forth. I I understand her word. I refuse to talk to anybody DM. I don't know where the hell you people coming at me with some stupid shit. It's just like, what the fuck are you talking about, man? I don't give a shit about my fucking credit score. I give a shit about the fact that I can get to my doctor's appointments and get to physical therapy, and talk to doctors who understand that I have a neurological movement disorder. I don't want to talk to non-hockey people anymore. I'm tough, but I'm not tough enough sometimes. I'm running out of fight, and I'll be honest about it. Okay, but I am a hockey lifer, and I don't need a penis to understand. And I know how to read you fellows. Sometimes I can just tell by press you're doing. So, yeah, I mean, you can't hide it from me. I mean, it's private, personal stuff, but I can tell sometimes, fellas. I can just tell. It does make you feel vulnerable and naked, but don't worry. I'm not trying to use any of that. I'm not looking for your weaknesses or any of that crap. Alright, so I'm Jets for Life. My name is Dr. Mia Lueth. Some people call me Crease, some people, right? Creasesinger. I'm the only Creasesinger that's on X, Legacy Twitter. But I wanted to get that out there and sort of just hi the Jets organization. Hello. Say hi to all the Winnipeg Jets fans around the world who aren't living in Canada. And to kind of familiarize myself with all the media and the other kind of things and just let people know it's just like, well, I have a certain perspective and I will share it. Even if you guys are naming your pissy at me, which happens. But I don't care. Especially when it comes to the position of goaltending. Because I am honestly in the upper echelon, less than 1% of human beings, including the ones who do it and get paid for it, understand and know the position better than I do. Billions and billions of people, and I know the position of goaltending, especially in the National Hockey League, better than almost everybody except for the ones who play it. Truth. You can at least extend me that respect. So go Jets, happy game day, happy Movember. I'm always willing to interact, always. Okay, I understand other perspectives. It's, the more perspectives you get of ice hockey, the more you learn about the game. And, you know, I think we're very fortunate to have Taser. I'm very glad Lowry stuck around. Helly is definitely got his game. He doesn't really need coaching. He needs friends and support, and right. He can bounce some things off someone who understands. Calm still does need a little coaching, but he seems, more confident in whatever interviews I've seen. And last year's Jets are gone, ladies and gentlemen. Let go. This is the Jets of right now. And they really didn't do too poorly considering the Kraken ran over the Sharks ran over the Kraken the night after. So it's concentrating on the Ducks Day.